Welcome back to Infinite Geek Talk, an ongoing conversation between your hosts, former DC Comics editor and owner of Infinite Heroes in Watertown, Connecticut, Paul Santos, who is joined by Keith Field, co-founder of Gorilla Valley Games and the owner of Rat's Nest Studios. Let's listen in.
McDonald's, like a lot of fast food restaurants or whatnot, have a secret menu that if you're in the know, there are certain items that you give that sort of knowing nod, glance, or Masonic handshake will be produced for you that defy the expectation of whatever eatery you might be at. So, if you're not familiar with this, well, welcome to the Monkey House, because I'm here to tell you that most mainstream fast food, restaurants, whatnot, have secret menus.
I feel like the McDonald's ones aren't that great, though. Because now they're marketing it and promoting it as
right.
real.
It's the meta of it is now becoming an advertising thing across the board. And McDonald's is definitely doing that. Did you hear about this? What was it? Surf, turf, and something?
Isn't it like a fish fillet with like a quarter pounder?
And a chicken sandwich, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's a trio.
I know there's one with a hash brown for buns.
Yes.
And then, I don't know, remember the rest, a sausage patty maybe, or
who knows?
Cheeseburger.
Look, it's all Chinese newspaper and squirrel. It doesn't matter. It's just whatever they paint it.
I actually like gimmicky food products more than I do secret menu. Like, remember when McDonald's had, like, wings? Did I imagine this in a fever dream?
We can lean into that beauty.
Okay.
But, very quickly, I will say on the matter of secret menu, one of the secrets, and this has been verified in a variety of different places. Go forward onto the interwebs. You'll see that I did not make this up. Whatever you order, whatever it is.
At McDonald's.
Mm-hmm. If you then say to the McDonald register jockey, I would like you to ball my meal. B-A-L-L.
Well, I don't know this.
And look up our sound man Rich nodding along. He knows about the balling. They will take your entire order, no matter what it is, place it into one of the old ice cream scoop shake mechanisms from the days of yore in the bellies of the McDonald's, and crush your entire order into a sphere.
What? There's no way that's real.
Well, I'm afraid it's the most real thing you've ever heard, Factor 3.
As soon as I leave here, I'm going to McDonald's.
And getting an order ball?
And I'm getting an ordered ball.
Mazel tov. It is my gift to you. You just hit the big monopoly, baby.
Yeah, we'll see if...
A monopoly on my heart ruled by bald food.
So that's like the burger, the fries.
Yeah, McNuggets.
Oh.
Whatever. We'll ball it, man. We'll ball it. I think it's the coolest thing in the world, and it horrifies me. Now, I will tell you very quickly that while balling McDonald's will certainly now take our listening base by storm, my favorite secret menu item at any franchise would be at the Sonic Drive-In. If you trust in my word as much as you should by now, gentle listener, and Paul... and America, then ask for the Junior Frito cheese wrap at Sonic.
Oh, that's something I would eat.
Weigh those words, my friends. Consider the food made entirely of its descriptor, the Junior Frito chili cheese wrap. And know that, yes, perfection has been achieved and awaits you at any participating Sonic
I am
restaurant.
the Frito Bandito.
I have to go.
Fare thee well, my child of sound.
I was going to say, I have...
With my blessing.
I have a Sonic fairly close to me, so I might go there too. Man, it's a dangerous time for my wife to be in Florida and me buying fast food for the next week.
And so I have planted a seed. But yeah, best thing you'll ever eat. Go to Sonic. Make it happen. And, I don't know. Maybe you're that daredevil who will then pull up to a McDonald's and say, hey, I have a bunch of Sonic, but any chance you could ball it?
Oh, that...
Come on!
I think that is a bigger accomplishment.
I declare that achievement the lava ball. Go forward, my sons and daughters.
TM.
Achieve the lava ball.
TM.
Ride the flame.
I think that's legal. I think we've now trademarked that name.
Yeah, definitely. Welcome to the Arsenal lava ball. Now, Paul, I believe you mentioned that in the world of comic bookery, this is that red letter week when we receive the vaunted June solicitations.
Oh yeah, the Marvel books are solicited. DC books are also solicited, and all the other, comics from Image all the way to Zenescope.
It is the dawn of sweeps season.
Yeah, I've always
Television.
Yeah, I've always felt like June is when all the comic book publishers come out and start putting out their big books for the year.
It's like the momentum that's going to carry us into the final quarter.
Yeah, because if
it's about priming those end of year events.
Right, and it's also you want to end the year. Like DC's doing something a little bit different. I believe Dark Crisis, which is their big crossover, is 7 issues.
Well, so now, Paul, by the time that our gentle friends out there in listening land,
this will be delayed already 3 times.
Yeah, but at this point, I don't think folks are as keyed in to that development in the DCU as you might think they are. I mean, we are only a few weeks at the time of this record into a DC universe which is facing yet another reboot.
This is the first reboot since Flashpoint.
Yet another reboot. But we'll see. But go to it.
Well, yeah, so basically if you do a 6-part series, if you start it in June, you have to finish it around Thanksgiving, and if there's any delays, it finishes off right before Christmas. You don't want to get anything bleeding into January because people just end up not going to the comic shop and waiting till like after the holidays and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Or if you have a few like 4-part series or whatnot, it takes you throughout all summer. So you have more, summer reading. The kids that do read comics, they have something to like start, they hear about Dark Crisis and there's a bunch of crossover books of Dark Crisis.
It's going to
engender
buy all a certain theming.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The likelihood of following those. So I haven't seen the solicits. So with you curating what you feel are the bits of true noteworthy news and trend, it will be as if I am once again the avatar of our listening base. So, my children, pick up your ball of lava, your lava ball TM. Enjoy as I speak for you. Tuck in, lads and lasses. What would you say was some of the notable jazz?
I mean, a lot of this crossover is like you were joking around with about the reboot.
Yes.
This is I'm assuming, I do not have insider information on this, that they are doing this crisis to fix the mistakes that were made post-Flashpoint.
Okay.
And for anybody who isn't reading DC Comics, none of the continuity has made a lot of sense in the last 10 plus years, right? You would back me up on that?
Very much so.
Yeah.
And it's clear enough that the mandate was not to follow a rigid continuity, but instead to allow creators not even a freedom, but just this lax sort of canvas. Just tell your story.
Yeah, and there's a lot
and a lot of math after the fact to say, okay, of these 50 stories, these 12 mattered narratively.
Well,
so, where will we lash them and use them as jumping off points to make more projects in the vein of those 12? So sort of this diminishing return spiritually.
There's also a lot of, the telephone game going on.
Which very much feels like the case.
Which is a huge problem. It's basically getting an edict from your president, then it goes down to your publisher, then it goes down to the editor-in-chief, group editor, the editor, and then the poor writer and then maybe even the editor or assistant editor, and then the writer has to decipher that. So it's kind of like when you're in school, it ends up with like purple monkey dishwasher. Like you get all these random things that probably weren't necessary. It ends up screwing up the entire story. And now you also have a lot of other... I mean, I'm excited because I want to see what's at the end of this crossover.
Sure.
The crossover is kind of like the boat we're taking to get to the new continuity.
Right.
Type of thing.
Yeah, to the heart of it, after the last reboot, and we entered a time of no great continuity build or shared world construction. Just a lot of stuff floating and occasionally gaining some level of connectivity.
Court of Owls is pretty big. Batman Court of Owls is pretty big. I would argue, whether you like it or not, Jeff Johns' end of Green Lantern those fans tend to like it. There's a few things that you have to wink or
the only issue I really had with it was it didn't mesh with whatever this. It was the first indicator that post New 52, there is no great effort going to be made to marshal everything together.
Right.
And it was, oh no, they just let him continue his storyline, even though it flies in the face of whatever new scenario they're building.
Yeah.
And that was ultimately what has riddled the past 10 years or so.
Yeah. And I would say his Justice League, I like the end of it with Darkseid War.
Sure.
I think it's very, very good. The first half of Jeff's run is hurt because being in this new continuity, and I don't think it's a secret anymore, there wasn't supposed to be new continuity after Flashpoint, just new number ones with a new creative teams.
Right. And the deeper cut would be to reveal that the idea was various characters would understand there was something wrong with the new continuity.
Correct.
And start trying to find their way back to the real continuity.
Right.
You know, the post Infinite Crisis.
Unfortunately, that, for whatever reasons, just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of Jeff's run just supposed to be him telling a story in modern day continuity, not Justice League Year One, which is what it turned into.
Right.
Or the really missed opportunity of Forever Evil. Because I liked Forever Evil a lot.
Oh, sure. In spirit.
It just had a lot of like, oh, that would be cooler, but this makes no sense because in the new 52,
we have no shared Bible.
These people
so
don't know each other.
What supervillains exist? Who knows who? Right.
There's a splash page where this Forever Evil was a crossover where Earth 3, which had all the evil counterparts of the Justice League, invade the main DC universe. And they get all the villains together, and it's a 2-page spread. Half of them are Batman villains, because Batman didn't really change
or members
that
of the
much.
Royal Flush Gang.
Or
full deck! All 52 of us!
And again, I was just talking about Court of Owls. It's a lot of just random Court of Owl guys,
right?
Like hanging out. So it's a very sad 2-page spread where you're like, oh, they couldn't use any of the
villains.
There
is a dude with Starro on his face, though. He's the luminary.
Right,
in the group.
one, right. So Dark Crisis is, I'm assuming, coming along to fix this. And the big elevator pitch is that the Justice League is dead. So they're dead.
Right.
And Darkseid plus every villain.
The solicits have indicated,
an embodiment of evil.
A team of alpha villains.
Of but like shadowy, like
they seem
sin-based.
Possessed
right.
or bound. Yeah, they represent great evil.
I love the lineup, though. I've said this before.
It definitely is a cool lineup, with the exception of Ares, who they can try as much as they want. Is not an A-list supervillain.
Yeah, I'll give you that. One.
They always force that through because Wonder Woman has no continuity. I mean, Wonder Woman has. Screw it. Wonder Woman has no continuity. So it's the closest thing they have to a
they don't,
Doomish villain.
Well, for her, you can't put the Silver Swan in there.
Well,
although Cersei, now that you've mentioned that, I'm actually annoyed because Cersei would fit in that lineup. Oh, crap. Yeah,
boom,
that's
just
weird.
Just like that.
I wonder why they didn't. Because now I'm like, I wonder why they didn't do that. Because she'd be the only female in the group.
Yeah.
In that group of villains, she's the only female.
Yeah.
And I don't think Ares works, like you just said.
Yeah. There you go. Once again, my wisdom finds a way.
Yeah,
but as you suggest, darkness themed.
Like evil. Think of evil
being insidious.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Neron, Eclipso.
Spiritually, it seems to be a reimagining and a prelude to the eventual legendary storyline, the Great Darkness Saga. So this would be the first incursion of this great darkness. Oh, and the critter with the antlers that represents Dan DiDio from...
I know, I keep forgetting that guy's
name.
From
Morrison's...
I wish I remembered.
Multiversity. Well, I know that one of the slivers of their brotherhood is the Ori. And it's, the weird little house in the eye.
Right.
They all swarm around
I
him.
wish I got that. I mean, I'm sure...
The guy with the antlers... Dan.
Someone email us and yell at us how we don't know anything about comics.
His name isn't Dan. Well, it actually is. But that's there too.
Oh, and a secret evil. Remember we don't know what's above Darkseid, which I think is probably going to be a new, I am the ultimate darkness thing.
It's like a big hand. And Darkseid was just a puppet on the hand.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And it peels back and it's a bigger Darkseid.
Oh my God, imagine if it's...
Series of nesting dolls. So that would lead solicits, I assume.
Yeah, so that's the big DC. There's a bunch of number ones coming out. They all tie in, not all of them, but most of them tie into the Dark Crisis.
Are these relaunches or are these?
So it's Young Justice is the only big relaunch.
Who's doing it?
Oh man,
Okay.
It is a new artist, female artist. She's very good from the preview pages. The writer.
I was more or less curious if the much touted DC Bendis would be.
No, Bendis is gone.
Okay.
He's 100% gone at this
Okay.
point. He's going
Not
to
sticking on JLA?
No, he's gone
After the
He's-
death
he's-
and all
no,
that
no,
jazz?
no, he's
Okay.
gone. No, Josh Williamson is on Justice
very
League.
good.
Yeah.
Exceptional work on Flash.
Do you like? Are you reading his Batman? Have you
His
read it?
Batman is A-OK.
Yeah. You like better than James's? Too early to tell.
It's really early, but tonally tighter.
Tighter. Okay.
Yeah. I was not a big fan of the ancillary characters that were introduced during the preceding run, i.e., Ghostmaker and
Oh, I like that. I like the few of them. Yeah. No, I get it. You're
Clown Hunter.
You're a cranky old man. You don't want to see an emo.
Exactly.
You don't want to see an emo kid become a
I want to see
superhero.
Mark Merlin running around. I want no part of this emo clown boy Akira thing. Too many clowns. So tell me this: will I have a Suicide Squad book?
None.
It
It's
cut
still
from the heart of the current.
well. This one is
Suicide corner of the DCU.
Yeah. So this is Suicide Squad still going on.
Good.
And again, this isn't Dark Crisis isn't the beginning of a relaunch. It's the event,
Right,
So
right.
there's going to be a bunch of like eventy books.
So don't worry, your books aren't all going to be canceled.
Yeah, and
it's
then-
not that kind of hard reboot.
Right, and then I'm assuming, which is ballsy for them because January is not the strongest sales month. They're relaunching everything. I'm assuming in January if you do 7
The
issues.
Baby New Year initiative.
Right. Well, no, I think that's what they're going for.
I think that's nice.
I mean, I hope we get some cool books out of it because you haven't had a lot of variety at DC in the last couple of years due to corporate shenanigans. It has nothing
Sure,
to do with the talent or the publishers or anything like that. And it's funny because Marvel, if we want to pivot to the Marvel solicits, is putting out 1,380 books in June.
Finally.
Yeah. No,
Finally.
I'm kidding.
They've
but
dropped a few.
It's crazy to me the amount of books, and we have not talked about this.
Yeah.
Captain America is back to having 2 monthly books. Did you see that? Have you? That's and I love Cap, but like
I'm
he's
glad
not
you do, buddy.
He's not strong enough to do.
No, of course not. And
It's and one of them.
Look, we want to maintain a certain positivity in our corner of the
Right,
world.
right.
But the fact of the matter is, come on. There are runs that feel like a collection of inventory stories. And just the way they're plotting the runs and presentation of these,
It's a mistake.
these low-numbered run
Right.
mini-series in lieu of series, I can't invest
Oh no,
in that.
these are 2 ongoings.
This is long-form
This is
ongoings now?
long-form ongoing.
I'm supposed to trust in that?
because one of them is Sam.
I've
as
been
Cap-
burned too many times before.
One of them is the Falcon as Captain America.
I did see that he was going to be in one of
And then the second one is Steve Rogers,
Oh, okay.
Captain America. So you have 2 Captain America books. I don't know.
Pick a lane, man.
Yeah, I don't know if that's from a business point of view, and even like creatively. I know they're trying to do
You
a
call
Spider.
it Tales of Suspense and you rotate. Huh?
Well,
that'd
yeah.
be cute, right?
Yeah.
Cap never has the kind of traction to take him more than a few dozen issues.
I will say the new creative team. I don't the writers. I know the writers, so I won't say anything for or bad. But the art looks really good.
Okay.
The art looks really good.
I find your take cowardly.
Yes.
I say we inform that friendship. No, it actually, what you call it? I am glad at least that he has a book. I didn't care for the fact that he went dormant for a few months thereafter. A run that I did not particularly care for. See, that's the respectful way to deal with the last couple of years of Cap.
Well, I always feel Marvel's weird because they're A-list solo characters that aren't Spider-Man, right?
Sure.
Are Hulk, Thor, Cap, Iron Man, Daredevil. Mm-hmm. And
the Scourge of the Underworld.
Who has never had a book. But, yes.
He had every book.
It seems like it's very hard for them to get all 5
I know
going.
What you mean. I know what you mean. I don't understand why it has to be a rotating balance. It's almost like now is the time to invest all of our love in Iron Man.
Right.
To the deficit of this. You
Right.
know, and it's not simply a question of some sort of
and
conflicting
Thor
merchandising rights.
And Thor and Hulk and Daredevil are great.
Sure.
Iron Man Personally, I think it's okay.
Wolverine would be the ball that kind of fumbled out of that hat.
Well, yeah. Oh, and I love Wolverine.
Because there was a day when that would have been on that list.
Yeah,
One of these jockeying faces of the franchise.
But ever since he died, they can't keep.
They have not been able to find a stable momentum.
It's weird,
with that character.
very weird.
Multiple versions of him running around.
If you had told me Venom was more consistently good than Wolverine,
welcome to my fever dreams.
No way would I believe that.
Welcome to the best possible timeline.
And I also have a very crazy theory about why Deadpool can't have an ongoing.
Oh, please tell me, because the
Disney,
Deadpool
there's some Disney shenanigans.
Fang just mystifies
I
me.
think there's some Disney shenanigans.
Okay.
I think Disney is very nervous about not pissing off Ryan Reynolds.
Okay.
Not putting out books that kids might buy and then want to go see Daredevil, because every kid in my store who buys Deadpool, every kid, and I mean that, any like 10 to 15-year-old who has seen Deadpool, who buys Deadpool, has not seen the movies. But they know who Deadpool is. And I know he's in the video games and he's in some of the cartoons, but they freaking love Deadpool. Love him.
I think it was Axel Alonso at one point was being interviewed, and he's like, "Oh, who's your son's favorite superheroes?" "Oh, Deadpool, because it's Spider-Man with swords and guns." That was his son's favorite hero. And he's funny, and that's enough for a kid to fall in love.
Deadpool, we won't get into the Rob Liefeld topic, but Deadpool is Deathstroke with Spider-Man.
Correct.
With an all R-rated.
Yep.
So it's R-rated in terms of violence, in terms of the puns and the humor, and then he has the work in the Weapon X deformities.
Right.
And he's like a very he's an easy to like character.
Sure.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that he's kind of turned into this weird like reverse Mary Sue.
You're correct.
It has diminished my affection for him considerably. Even before the current, as you've brought up, seeming effort to totally derail the momentum of the character.
I think that's Disney. I think Disney is trying to be like, how can we turn him all PG-13 without pissing off the fan base? And now remember, the Deadpool in Marvel Comics is not R-rated. But in comics, you're able to get away with a lot more than in film. So Deadpool
is, for example, a sexual dynamo in the comics.
Sure. Well, and he's cutting off heads and splitting people open. PG-13, sometimes you could do that because we've all watched Lord of the Rings.
Sure.
But then other times you can't do that.
And the violence is not so much glorified, but often used as a point of humor with Deadpool.
Right.
So if you take that away, you are missing one of the large chunks of the character.
So I think Disney has told them, or maybe Marvel themselves are just like, we're not going to mess with this until we know what's going on.
When we're talking shop and we talk about the Marvel movie kind of relationship and how the tone of the books has oddly shifted to meet some of the givens of the cinematic universe, sort of to make the retroactive change to more resemble them.
Yeah.
The narrative that has come out of Marvel is that, no, Disney isn't making us change anything. Where do you think the truth on that lies?
So I've heard things that it isn't Disney, it's Marvel. The rumor, I don't know this from first, no one who has made these decisions have told me. Anecdotally, people at Marvel go, "Oh, it's cool. The Disney did this in the MCU. We're going to emulate it." Mm-hmm. As a retailer and a fan and a critic, that has never worked.
Right.
Every decision they've made to be more like the MCU has blown up spectacularly in their face.
Correct. It's resulted
think,
in some embarrassing baggage that's going to have to be retconned off.
I don't think there's a problem with bringing in like Tess Thompson's Valkyrie as a new character. That's fine, but no one cares about Coulson. The less said about Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury Jr.
Sure.
In the Marvel universe, not the MCU.
Sure.
That is baffling.
Yeah.
In the MCU, in the Marvel Comics universe, Nick Fury has gone away. We will not get into reasons why he went away because it's too complicated.
Sure. Well, you should go back a little bit more than that and explain for anyone who might not know this that the actual Nick Fury character was introduced in the early wing of the Silver Age of comics, and then aged through into and became a pivotal part of the Marvel Universe, was not a Samuel Jackson looking
No,
guy.
he's a white. Yeah,
He's a white
guy.
dude with an eye
Yeah.
patch. And if you search your memories back of the Marvel Universe, even a casual fan will probably remember that image, as it's a high-profile character, figured heavily into a lot of Captain America's lore and that sort of thing. And the head of S.H.I.E.L.D.
He's in X-Men a lot with Wolverine.
The face of the S.H.I.E.L.D. organization, and the S.H.I.E.L.D. organization has always been a huge part of Marvel. So when Marvel started its movie thing, back around Iron Man time, Marvel created an imprint that was to serve as a new gateway for a new generation of fans. And in my mind, at least, it was one of the most brilliant things in the world for a year or two. And that was the Ultimates line of books. And lots of efforts to increase the visibility of this thing were made, including reaching out to certain celebrities to either use their likeness or in some way secure some personality usage of them to increase the visibility of especially the core book, the flagship book, Ultimates, was an alternate version of the Avengers. And so Samuel Jackson was asked if they could use his likeness for the Nick Fury character, and his stipulation was, yes, but if you ever make a movie, I get to play Nick Fury.
Correct.
And so it was that, in a very literal way, history was made, because Samuel Jackson would then become the face of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And again, the Samuel L. Jackson version of Nick Fury is the ultimate comics Nick Fury in every the mannerisms.
Perfect.
He's not pretend. They're not trying to pretend he's the
Art
Silver
becomes
Age.
life, vice versa.
Right.
Hail Mary.
But in the actual Marvel Comics universe, they really went out of their way to force a square peg into a round hole.
So, very ill-advisedly, they hammer in this mini-series out of nowhere, revealing that Nick has a secret Samuel Jackson baby.
Right.
And he decides to retire and engineer his own death so that this hitherto unknown character can step into his role as the head of S.H.I.E.L.D.
The best part is, too, and I don't know if this is an editorial screw-up or a writer screw-up, they were going to name him Nick Fury Jr. Unfortunately, there was already a son of Nick Fury called Nick Fury Jr. So he has a name. I don't know his real name. I forget. And then when he takes over from S.H.I.E.L.D., they just call him Nick Fury. And it is the most lazy storytelling device. And then the worst part is, and I don't know, I think he may have been in the military.
Yes,
or
he
something.
He was the best guy in the army with weapons and such.
But now Nick Fury is gone, and this person is put in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D. And everyone's like, that's not how government secret agencies work.
I don't know. Norman Osborn shot a Skrull and was given command of the world.
That's a whole other problem. But yeah, so the thing is, so Nick Fury's son, Nick Fury Jr. 2, I guess, is the head of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then everyone talks to him like he's his father.
Right.
And I'm like, no, you don't know Wolverine.
It's one of the dopiest
weird
decisions to be made in a long time.
Yeah, and they did that, and they try to say we didn't do that because the movies, we felt like it was a natural progression. Everyone's like,
no.
And the Marvel Universe, Nick Fury now, he doesn't look like Samuel L. Jackson. He's just a black kid too. He's like 20.
He's younger.
5 or something. 28. It's very
bald fella.
Right. But they've done other.
Yeah, and they've done a lot of other stuff.
They've done a bunch of stuff that everyone kind of rolls their eyes.
I think most notably, and I'm surprised that this didn't make more of a ripple, and it does kind of bug me, but not, is the Iron Man thing.
Which Iron Man?
The massive change to his origin. Iron Man's origin in the comics was he was touring in Asia. I will not go into some CN Kong convolutions.
But that's what it is now.
He was in Asia and triggered a mine, and shrapnel hit him in the heart, and he wound up in the hands of an Asiatic warlord, and history is written. After the Iron Man movie, they changed Marvel history to exactly match the background that was given in the Jon Favreau movie. Matt Fraction's Invincible Iron Man #1.
Yeah, but they
establishes the Raza character, and the characters from the movie are now his origin.
But this is really getting into it. What's happening right now though in the Marvels? It's saying that he got hurt in this
I have only done one read through thus far of the youthful Marvels series, but I did mention Wong Chu at one point.
Yeah,
because for the benefit of those who are only half curious or understanding, Wong Chu is the name of the the warlord who was responsible for the original Iron Man origin, not Raza, the Desert Man.
Right. Well, I haven't read the whole thing,
But yeah, it mentions him. Yeah. And actually, if anyone was curious about that, the Marvel series, which came out from our friend Curdy B 5 or 6 months ago, is a cool little continuity porn comic in which it's a ragtag team of heroes fighting this hitherto unknown menace and retroactively establishing
in a fictional Eastern Asian country.
That it is a fictional East Asian country. What they decided to do when the recent updated history of the Marvel Universe was amended and published, 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, a few years ago.
Written by Mr. Mark Waid, was to take some of the more sensitive paradigm established, most notably over the Silver Age, regarding various communist villains, their origins.
Vietnam backstories.
Anything about China, Japan, Vietnam, anything that resembled a Yellow Peril storyline, a collective mashing together of Asian theme into something that is no longer palatable into a single fictional nation. And then have the fun of structuring it and establishing what Marvel history happened when. That basically,
So this is where Frank...
If it came from the East, it came from Cian Kong.
Yeah, this is basically so Frank Castle wasn't in Vietnam.
He fought in Cian Kong.
He fought in this conflict.
Yeah.
Same thing with...
It is a very Marvel-esque construct, but it is perhaps the most unprecedentedly... rebooty thing
no one is
they've
talking
ever
about
done,
it,
and
crazy.
Yet nobody really is talking about it. It's a huge paradigm shift for Marvel, and I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just interesting, and
Right.
it really hasn't seemed to resonate with folks in a controversial way, or a galvanizing
I'm wondering
way.
if he got this greenlit and then certain people hated it and they're trying to bury it.
I don't know, because it should be having a higher profile than it is, in my opinion. It is what it is.
But yeah, I mean, back to what you're saying about Disney, though, I don't think they come down with edicts. I think it's the Marvel editorial team.
Right, and that's what I asked then is, why would you do that? I don't know what it shows other than just being a company guy.
I don't know.
Is that really enough to motivate changing history?
I'm trying to think what else they've done. Like Agent Coulson was a big failure too. He's still around, but they gave him his own series.
And I was going to say,
crazy.
Those characters got a series and are now being put here and there throughout the Marvel universe, and it's just wow. When are you just going to give up?
And I'm not a Coulson.
At some point, they gave up on US1. At some point, they gave up on Team America.
Right.
Give up on Agents of friggin' S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, and
here's a boy named Keith, standing before the world, begging you all to stop with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It was a bad show. There's nothing good in any moment of that show.
I stopped watching after.
Do you like Ming Na Wen?
Episodes.
So do I. I've long enjoyed her. I have no problem with her delightful antics on Boba Fett. Enjoy her there. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a toilet that betrayed us all. Thank you.
Well, Kevin Feige, his thing is that Coulson died in Avengers.
Exactly.
So, and I've never liked the best part about Coulson is when he died. That I don't need any more Coulson. I don't know where this weird love of Coulson came from. I feel like it was just a
listen. Clark Gregg is a very nice man.
That's probably why he's.
And I watched every episode of the New Adventures of Old Christine, and it wasn't just for Sweet Elaine. It was also for his antics.
Oh, I didn't know he was in there.
Yes.
He's the male. He's the male lead. Okay.
He was the ex-husband,
Nice.
Richard. See,
No,
I knew that.
Did not know that.
I was a big fan.
But yeah, I think you see these ill-advised. They just did something else recently, didn't they? Too?
In my headcanon, he was Coulson.
He was Coulson. Nice.
Sure.
What didn't they just change something in the Marvel universe to fit the MCU?
What? Just recently?
Just recently.
If there's something nagging at you, I don't know. Let's look at likely transgressors. What does Big Tom B edit? Oh wait, no, I shouldn't say that.
I don't think Ego is not like Star-Lord's dad now. Is
Oh,
he?
I think one of my favorite heroes is about to get a stepdaughter who's about to be very high visible through various Disney Plus projects.
Are you meaning niece?
I believe. Well, it's not a spoiler if it's just conjecture, right?
Right.
But
right. We can talk conjecture. here.
Recently, Reed Richards had revealed to him that he has a half sister.
Half sister. Yeah.
Yes, because I disagree with the apparent behind the scenes death of Nathaniel Richards.
Right.
Boo! Hey, Slot, you hearing this? You hearing this? I don't know under what circumstances you would, but if you are, boo! You don't get to kill him. Sorry.
Off panel.
Especially.
I'm not a big off panel.
No, sorry. We don't allow that. How dare you, sir? How dare you?
Which that brings me back to...
Anyway, yes, he's getting a sister, and it certainly looks like it is forthcoming matinee idol Riri Williams. Or potentially small screen idol, I can't even joke, the Moon Girl character.
And and it would be it would be his niece, because the woman is her mom.
Right.
Because we don't know.
But they share a father.
Right.
Because it's his daughter.
Right. So
so it's his sister. It's his half sister.
It's his half sister, right. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's even...
I don't want to think about the tree you're drawing, buddy.
No, it's going to end up being... I don't know if it's to make the FF more popular or to be...
I don't know who takes the endorsement there. I don't really know what it's serving. And don't tell me it's a good No, it's a weird convolution I don't need.
I'll be and being the numbers guy of this podcast, I'm very curious to see how the Ms. Marvel show does. Which I know it's for girls and it's for kids.
It's not in relation to the Disney Plus stuff.
Yeah, because
I'm
curious.
This is the thing, right? It's not for me, I guess.
Correct. I'm saying the same thing.
And so I'm with you with that. But there are a lot of things that aren't for me that I can look at and ask, what the frig is going on? And with that, especially, that trailer did so much damage to even my conceptual support of the thing. I think trailers need to stop.
Yeah, I probably won't be watching it.
Yeah.
More than likely not watching it.
It looks so clumsy. Well, here, let me say this up front, friends. I don't mind the Kamala Khan character. In fact, I think there are perfectly cromulent stories about the character. You see what I did there? They didn't big in the heart. I'll make it more obvious. It's solid. She's a cute kid. I didn't necessarily like her series as much as I enjoyed her in Champions and other books.
Avengers, she was good. The
Mark
Waid
books
Avengers.
that walked that line between potentially making her the Mary Sue character that she gets accused of being, and I don't really feel
I don't think she is.
Not
no,
at all.
She's
not at all.
No, I don't.
I think she's an interesting, unique creation. I myself don't see any reason to call her Ms. Marvel. That's my thing. If there was another name attached to that same character, I think she would have been the most exceptional and most unique creation of the past decade or so. But by having to tie her marketing-wise to an existing franchise name, it didn't feel necessary to me. I don't think that it gave any more attention to the character than she would have gotten if she had been called Ms. Fantastic.
Well, she also has a terrible comics origin.
Yeah.
Being an Inhuman.
Pod for you. Pod for you, child.
I hate that Inhuman origin.
Okay, all that having been said, know that I'm not, some sort of creepy foe with the character at all. I don't know what that character is on that trailer. It just looks awful.
It's... Well,
hey, and here's a spoiler. She's not getting her powers from a pod. Instead, the super people that we see in the preview are the little-known metahuman band called the Clandestine.
Yeah, you said that. I'm fascinated if that's actually happening.
So my thing is, having heard this from various online talking heads,
right.
so let that be my source. Clandestine was a weird Marvel UK, Marvel US thing. It came out in the 90s. It was Alan Davis art. I remember MODOK played a hand in it. That's my takeaway. MODOK played a hand in a thing that Alan Davis drew, but it was about like a generational superhero thing, if memory serves. Hence, clandestine, like your destiny. Didn't care, still don't. Apparently, they're fishing that out, and that will be turned into her little corner of the universe. I assume it will be that they're all generational heroes, so they're collecting her, and maybe there's some corruption in the group. Because, again, trailer shows too much. But all that aside, that weird decision aside, because obviously they're not going to make her an Inhuman, which is her origin in the book, hence the pod, because the Inhuman name has been soured and the earth burned and salted by the Inhuman series that we talked about just a little while ago.
Right.
So, okay, you're one of the clandestine. What the hell is she wearing, Paul?
Are you talking about the bracelets or the costume?
Any of it.
Yeah, it's weird. So she seems to have like a homemade costume at one point, and then the last shot with her sitting on top of the lamppost, she's got a superhero.
I mean, I'm sure there's context for all of it.
Yeah, I'm also
like she bought a costume at a costume shop or something along those lines. You know, I get it. But come on, this is supposed to be the thing that just we get a few visuals that make you want to watch this thing. I wanted to cry for it.
I'm also over, and this isn't Ms. Marvel's the only thing, but I'm over homemade costumes before we get to the real one. I just want the real one.
It hit its pinnacle, right? Spider-Man, that's it. Let's be done with it. We've done the whole run now. We've seen the evolution. It's no longer a character. Let it end.
I hate it. I don't need to see
I'm with you 100%, Daddy.
I don't want to see another hoodie with like a scarf covering someone's face. And then 4 episodes later, they get a super cool costume that they don't use.
Just hit the ground running, people.
Yeah.
You know, come on.
And we've talked
60 years of history.
Well, we've talked about this too. It's always.
If I'm ever going to see the goddamn Asbestos Man on a movie screen, you people need to pick it up and give me stories about villains and not about origins.
Well, it's always
no more Taylors.
It's always the comic book people too that are embarrassed.
Yep.
Like it's very well known. Joe Quesada on the set of Daredevil, the Ben Affleck Daredevil. They were going to give Colin Farrell's Bullseye a costume, and he literally said, "That's corny. Don't do that." So they didn't do it. Mm-hmm. Same thing for Jeff Loeb.
X-Men was affected by the narrative coming out of Morrison.
Yeah. The
postmodern. No, we don't need costumes. You were wrong. You were wrong, Uncle Grant.
Well, you also have this.
You need the costumes.
Yeah, you also have this other problem where it's still happening today. Daredevil season 3. Jeff Loeb goes, "Oh, I love that black Frank Miller costume better. We'll use that." And everyone from normie to comic fan is like, "This is stupid. I don't want to see him running around in a ninja outfit or a mime outfit." It was stupid.
If you showed me 14 actors and said, pick out the guy who played Bullseye in season 3 of Daredevil,
you'd have no idea.
I have no idea. If he had been wearing a costume, I would remember the character.
He was wearing the Daredevil costume.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Point made.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird that they do that, and now I think.
But we've beaten that pretty hard.
And now the next stage is this homemade costume thing.
Yes.
You know, I'm sure She-Hulk will have a homemade. She'll be wearing some sort of homemade costume.
We were just talking about it the other day. It continues to bother me. She-Hulk is a character that I, like many other Randy lads, hold in a special place in our heart. For me, like so many others, the pinnacle of the character was Burns' use of her in all of his horny, sweaty glory. I mean, whether it was in the Fantastic Four run or her challenged series. Let me tell you something about that series. I don't think I've ever been more excited for a solicitation than I was for She-Hulk #1, the Byrne relaunch. For those that don't know, coming out of Women's Lib, She-Hulk, mandate character out of the pen of Stan, the cousin of Bruce Banner, saves her with a blood transfusion. She becomes She-Hulk. In the 70s, she's just a derivative, gross character. The way she was drawn, the content of the story, she's not compelling. She seems like someone with a birth defect when she's rampaging as She-Hulk. And there's a weird narrative in the majority of her first series. And I don't know what funny bone it's supposed to be tickling. But she fights a series of made-up villains who are all the same guy. Like, he keeps having a series of mad doctor experiments performed on him. So every villain she fights is this guy Ralphie for like 2 years.
That's pretty funny.
It's weird. At any rate, she stumbles through that and then winds up an Avenger when someone was looking for a C grade character to make a B grade character. Maybe it was Roger Stern, I'm not positive. But after the events of the first Secret War, John Byrne, one of my noted spirit fathers and a pervy gentleman, he put her on the Fantastic Four to replace the Thing. And America fell in love with a She-Hulk that was drawn like a smoking hot babe. No longer did she look like a brute, and she was funny and perfect in every way.
She had the Hulk brow too, right? The caveman brow back when it was Savage She-Hulk.
And that was done away with.
Yeah.
Now she was a sexy pixie. And from there, he then launched a series in which she was aware of her... Oh, actually, yes. Rich was pointing past us in a bit of pantomime, and I was like, what is he drawing reference to? And it would, of course, be the John Byrne She-Hulk omnibus that sits on the bookshelf behind me in our studio.
It's a nice book.
That series, which he launched after his FF run, in which it would be a humorous series in which she was aware that she was a character in a comic book, and her sexy frolic would be poised against third-rate supervillains. These are all words that remain very important to me. It's everything I could have asked for. And for 6 glorious months, I was ever so happy. He then, as he often did, stormed off the book for some reason, and a series of garbage runs would carry the book for a very long time. I think he jumped back in a couple of years into the run of the book.
It's like 30s, right? Issue 30?
Possible.
33 or something.
I know the cover when he returned was him trying to nail a number or whatever it was, 789, over whatever the current issue count was. And it was all very cute and meta, and I dug his chicanery, and... that is the She-Hulk that many of us define the She-Hulk as. There was one whole episode about her being forced to skip rope in the nude. It had to do with an ongoing narrative with the reader. So that gives you some idea of the mature themes running through this book.
This will not be in the Disney Plus show.
Sadly, Disney has problems with that sort of thing.
Guarantee you. Although now they're at TVMA, so who knows?
Lest you think it was pornography, she was wearing a Comics Code bathing suit. That was the gag of the issue. Then I think she fought the living eraser. So like I said, a book made just for me. At any rate, after her, Dan Slott, lovely gentleman, did a She-Hulk series in the 90s, 2000s that received a lot of acclaim. Dan's a guy who loves Marvel, loves comics, and it really showed. They changed the she knows she's in a comic to she uses comic books as the precedent in the law cases that her firm argues. And it was a nice way to kind of reinvent the meta. So the series seems to be a melding. It seems to be leaning more toward the Dan Slott run on take on the character than, say, the Byrne run. And I just don't, we were talking about it, and my thing was these little demo shots that we're seeing just don't seem dynamic enough and make me fretful that it's just going to be an episode of just her in her civilian identity and then 5 minutes of Hulk in the beginning and the end. And we were talking about it with our friend Matt, and the suggestion was made that, well, if you time that the right way, it creates the illusion of the action, and you won't have that sense of loss when we're watching actress be actress.
Right, and I think this show has 10 episodes for some reason. That's what IMDb says.
That's
which
solid
is long.
enough. That's the longest commitment they've made to one of these Disney Plus series.
So I'm curious what is going to be in it. And I think I don't say they're learning because they would have, I don't know if you're watching segue to Halo.
I am not watching Halo, for I do not have whatever the hell that streaming service is.
Oh, it's
and I don't
Paramount
steal.
Plus.
That's right.
So
no pirate BI, sir.
So apparently the first episode has a lot of action but sucks.
And then the second, only thing I know is that Cortana does not look like I need Cortana.
No, she doesn't look like anything that anybody wants her to look like. And then episode 2, there's no action. Zero. In a show called Halo. For those of you who need context, every episode of Star Trek The Next Generation has a phaser going off, and that is considered a pacifist show. And in the second episode of Halo...
Look, the last thing I want from my first-person shooter is shooting.
Right. So, yes, I hope Marvel, and it's Disney plus Marvel, right? So they've been pretty good.
Yep.
Like I said, Ms. Marvel to me, it just looks like
It looks like a total misstep, man. I don't know.
I don't know. And again, I don't know where it's going to end up ratings wise, or what they expect. Maybe they don't care as long as it finds an audience.
And it's just about introducing the idea so that it can be part of the upcoming film.
Yeah, but
the Marvels.
Right, but I don't. But is Disney going to be happy? I'm very curious what's going to happen.
It's weird, man.
Yeah.
Some weird choices. Now, speaking of the weird, we are actually having this conversation on the eve of the release of the latest of these Disney Plus enterprises.
Moon Knight.
Comic-wise, Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Now, Moon Knight's a character that I have some history with. Well, nothing intimate, don't get too excited, but it's a character that I've collected and owned every appearance of on at least 2 occasions because I have problems. And I honestly, he is a character that I think has wonderful potential, and I don't think anyone, including his creators, have ever really understood what to do with him.
Well, he's at
And so there have been bursts of innovation and tone, but appropriately enough, tonally, it's a very schizophrenic character.
All right.
See?
And he started off as basically a Marvel, as crazy as it sounds. He's a Marvel version of Batman.
Well, he was a supervillain, all things considered.
Wow. Listen, I don't know if you...
Supervillain.
He fought a werewolf.
Fought the most dashing
So
of heroes, Jack Russell, the werewolf by night.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that counts as being a
villain. Well, his creator described him as a villain. He was a mercenary villain hired to take down Jack Russell, the werewolf by night, I believe by the committee.
The committee is, yeah. I'm in the middle of reading that run.
And, now, and I believe we'll see the werewolf by night on the Disney Plus series.
I hope so.
I
hope so.
So not a spoiler, it's conjecture. I think I might have heard it somewhere. I will reveal to you all that despite whatever arrogance I stride this world in, confident in my knowledge of the X-Men franchise, because I know who belonged to Factor 3 and who didn't, I will admit to you all that I'm just a man. Let me show humility. I was actually at Paul's store less than 2 months ago, and I looked up at the various lads we were entertaining with our exchange of ideas, and I said, oh my God, I never realized that Jack Russell is named for the Jack Russell Terrier.
Right. Yeah, that's sad.
I'm ashamed of myself. I need to be put down. So, I... like so many poor Jack Russell Terriers before me.
Now, who created Werewolf by Night? Was it Jerry Conway? No.
I don't know. The Bronze Age mash of weirdos.
Whoever...
Doug Moenick.
No, it wasn't
nice man. I'm not mocking him by not knowing how to mispronounce his name.
No, it wasn't Doug Moenick because he came later. The person who created it, because I remember reading the intro in the Masterworks, said that he had no idea what a Jack Russell Terrier was.
Then I cannot be mocked. But if his creator didn't know.
No, but if this is me, I don't believe that for a second.
No, I do. It's my new law.
That's all right.
So, I believe that more than I believe most things.
Okay.
Well, I'm in good company.
He had no idea, apparently, is the story he's going with.
I choose to make that my reality,
I apologize if it isn't Jerry Conway. It's like
Jerry Conway didn't create nothing but a clone saga.
It's not Marv Wolfman. He comes on later.
Go start the bus. I think it was Doug M.
No, Doug M came later. I promise you. I promise you.
I think he used hypnosis to program a proxy, an agent, if you will, to create it in his stead. Now, I don't remember offhand, but Jack Russell for the test.
The fun part too about Moon Knight is that all his weapons were silvery because he's killing a werewolf.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anti-werewolf arsenal. He better fight that werewolf on Disney Plus. It's a character that. I feel the best descriptor of him is he's the Grindhouse Batman.
Yes.
His adventures are all very hard-boiled in his initial run.
Horror-y.
It's all horror-y.
All his villains are like gross, horror, like cybernetic. Like his cyborg actually has like blood and tissue connecting to the metal parts. So it's this gross marriage of wires and arteries and stuff.
Gallery-wise.
Who am I thinking of?
Yeah, you're thinking of Randall, who comes a little later.
Yes, in the 90s or 2000s.
He eventually cyborged up.
Yeah.
But he was introduced.
I thought that was cool.
He was actually introduced around the time we're talking. There was Morpheus. He didn't cyborg up till later.
Right.
There was Morpheus, his dream-based villain, who very gross-looking dude. Black Spectre was probably his most credible threat. Not the evil organization made entirely of African American women that figured
the
heavily
mandrill?
into mandrill appearances.
No.
Less said about any of that, I think, the better. But no, a guy who patterned himself after a Roman conqueror and made some deft political points at the time. There was lots of political commentary in the original Moon Knight series, alongside the weird horror themes and violence. The issue that affected me the most when I was a kid was just there was a haunted house that people had died at. And so he was exploring this haunted house. You know, that's the Marvel universe he lived in, one in which there could be a conventional thing like that.
Which is cool.
And the discovery was that it wasn't haunted. There was a crazy old person living in the house who had wired guns around the house with the skeletons of her family. So it seemed as though it was haunted. And this terrified me when I was little. And the cover is this beautiful Sienkiewicz. Is that how you say it? Sienkiewicz?
Sienkiewicz.
Yes.
That I do know.
Cover of this flaming hunter skeleton rising up out of a grave and pointing a shotgun at Moon Knight. That cover will forever stand tall in my memory.
It's a great cover.
So, knowing that from such a banquet of horror and dark imagery, we now turn to the feasting table of Disney+, I am cautiously optimistic, although perhaps I have no reason to be. Reviews are starting to trickle in, and they seem quite negative and anti our little Moon Knight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, everything I've heard.
I know that one reviewer loved it.
Well, let's stand by him then. Let him carry our standard.
It was Grace Randolph.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Good, Grace. Let's, broken clocks can be right twice a day.
Well, we'll see if the intro, if it's, because I believe Disney Plus, no, they don't. They don't have a warning if it's
for
TV
violence?
14 or something. Yeah, or maybe they do.
No,
I'm
I
not
think
remembering.
they'd have a ding, ding.
Yeah.
And like a little thing appears.
If that's not in the first episode, the show will suck. Because as you said, Moon Knight is...
There's an expectation for horror and violence.
Yeah.
Regardless as to which incarnation of the character it was.
What do you feel about the Spawn suit that he has
Well,
now?
yeah, I suppose in response to that, I would continue the little overview just a little more to say that over the modern years, the treatments of the character vary greatly. But they are all certainly meant to be the same character. There's no, rebooty thing going on or any real retcon other than the tone and the general aesthetic of each author who's taken over the character has changed dramatically. And I would offer that the most important creator to be handed the reins of this franchise that has now put it onto a road that led it to this Disney Plus series is Mr. Warren Ellis, one of the greatest talents working in the medium, who deserves nothing but our unflagging support and salute for enduring efforts to try to upset the march of this magnificent talent. Mr. Ellis, my hat is unironically doffed to you. So if anyone was wondering which side of history I was standing on, I suppose I would just make myself known right there. Agree or disagree with any of those statements, Paul?
I have no comment.
So, that having been said, Warren Ellis, his run on Moon Knight was exceptional. Brought it to dry, almost EC Comics-like structure.
Did he create Mr. Knight?
He created Mr. Knight.
He did create Mr. Knight.
And very respectfully, the tone of the series remained following Ellis's pattern after he left. I think Cullen Bunn was it?
Lemire.
And Jeff
And
Lemire.
both of them did.
And I gotta say, spiritually, they stayed in step with what he had started, and I think that was a very wise idea.
Didn't Bendis have like 6 issues?
Was that before or after Ellis?
I don't know.
Because, of course, Bendis did a Bendis version of Moon Knight that happens in its own bubble and isn't worth looking at. So then moving past that...
Does he have the Wolverine? He has like a shield, Captain
his
America
take
shield,
on it was that he wasn't going to bother finding out any of the history of the character, so instead... Moon Knight decided as a weapon to pretend to be other heroes from the Marvel Universe.
That's what it was.
And he, rather than find out about any of the other resource bases the character ever had, was now a TV producer. Producing a show called The Legends of the Khonshu, which that language structure doesn't quite fit with. Anyway, carried on some of his hood threads. And that's what he did with it. I think it lasted a dozen issues. Oh, he did bring back a villainess who was pretty clearly dead with great import in Captain America during the Grunwald run. Now, if this all sounds like dismissive and hateful nerd, it's fine. It's a Bendis story. But it was the worst Moon Knight run ever, in my opinion.
Oh, wow.
And that includes 90s stories in which the Demo Goblin is a virus that is breaking down his body. The sort of claptrap that it's hard to understand just what 90s god is being channeled at any given time by the art team.
That's very hard. That was a very like angular art style in the 90s, right?
Very harsh and
Demon Goblin looks like he's made out of triangles. And,
it all becomes so surreal. But the Bendis run, no, I harsh comedy aside, the fact is, kind of happens in its own bubble and doesn't really offer anything to the franchise or take it in a new direction. Whereas the Ellis run was so just revolutionary.
But none of them have. But it's not supposed to be like a Spawn costume, which is where they're going for with this.
No, this costume looks very much like this is Marvel's Batman.
But it comes. But it's a symbiote.
It seems alive, it's alive to evoke some sort of magic or whatever.
Right.
Well, we haven't seen it, so I'm doing my best not to judge it ahead of time. But I worry. I worry for it because it just doesn't seem like. And this is one of my things, right? If I'm going to get real geeky, I'm going to, and this is the place to do it, I suppose. It bothers me that the last note that is going to be struck in the creation of this cinematic universe is what should have been the first note. Obviously, I understand all of the issues of the Fantastic Four's movie rights, the mistakes that were made, and what it took to bring them back under house. But I do feel there is a spiritual sin being committed that I saw a Shang-Chi movie and an Eternals movie and an Inhumans TV show before the Fantastic Four exist on this level of mainstream presentation and universal display.
But you can't really, again...
Now, obviously, it's just an emotional response.
Yeah.
It's bad luck. It's a lot of things that have nothing to do with activity. It's a lot of history. I get it. But spiritually, there's a certain wound. When each of these lesser franchises, in terms of just the importance and existence of this universe, that I have seen Razor Fist on a movie screen before a worthwhile Doctor Doom breaks my heart. But that all having been said, this then suggests the idea of a chronology of importance in my mind's eye and in my heart. So the narrative we were all sold, which I certainly believe, is that we were given these heroes in a certain order when we realized it would be viable to make an Avengers movie. So I've created in my mind a sort of stepladder of import of evolution, of introducing element X before introducing element Y. I don't feel that Moon Knight is the next up on the ladder.
But this
led to the evolved version of the conversation, which is, it really bothers me that anybody cares about the release of the announcement that Nova will be the next big thing.
Right, but I don't know what the next thing...
I am here to tell you that it is only because of some sort of backward hypnosis that I don't have an immediate answer as to who is better.
That's not true.
However, I came up with an answer for you, didn't I? And what was that answer, Paul?
I'll check my phone because I do not remember.
It was the two-gun kid, Paul.
No, I know you're joking because.
Oh, am I though? Am I? I hear no laughter.
No one is. Rich is laughing literally right now.
Oh, well, Richard, you're forgiven for not knowing that the two-gun kid means more to more. Okay, I couldn't say that.
That is not true.
I couldn't say that.
Now you're lying.
Okay. I understand that there's more involved in this, but I would have rather had a Black Cat movie announced. Black Cat being one of my absolute favorite characters for a variety of reasons and in a variety of different contexts. That could have been the next big movie.
Black Cat being, not right
as
now.
As a solo project. I think that's
a Sony movie.
I understand that, Paul. That
Morbius
was what I was acknowledging.
We're going to go see Morbius this week.
Yes, we
are.
You're
going to love it.
It's going to be awesome.
Have you heard those reviews?
He's going to fight the Melter somehow. I can feel it in my bones.
Those reviews are terrible.
Yes.
I'm hoping...
It sounds like a dark ball of wax is going to be the candle of our voyage.
I hope it's at least campy.
I want it to be laughably bad.
Me too. Well,
that's what I'm hoping for.
I enjoy as long as I'm not bored, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I
here's my thing.
There's nothing in the Morbius mythos where they could really screw up.
Here's how gross nerd I am. All right, I am a Morbius fan. That not by itself is gross to admit. I'm so much of a fan. I have a favorite kind of Morbius story. I like any of the stories in which he is presented as a hero and he fights a supervillain that has nothing to do with vampires or the occult. Now, that might sound very specific, but it happens a lot during Morbius's career. So, most notably, recently, a whole miniseries which was just Morbius fighting the Melter.
He fought. Yeah, I was just to say.
And if you can't understand that's the true north of my heart, then what are we doing here? What do any of us understand about Keith Field?
We don't know the villain of this movie.
So this movie has the Vulture in it, or has a Vulture in it.
It's not going to be. It won't.
So it has the what's his face, Mr. Mom in it.
Yeah,
Michael Keaton. Batman. So what I'm telling you, he's not the villain of the movie, but that's enough to satisfy my weird demiurge.
Okay.
So I think that's kind of my metagame I'm playing. I'm going in there to see if that Michael Keaton appearance will keep my heart steady enough that I can say, at least I got my Morbius encounters a supervillain
Now, do you
moment.
think the Matt Smith? You think that's a new villain? The Matt Smith character?
I think it's certainly possible.
Because there's no character that has his disease, and they were bestest friends.
There's his best buddy,
but they didn't have the same
in the comics.
Yeah,
I know they didn't have the same disease,
Yeah.
but that's an easy retcon. Because the origin, as it was presented by, I believe, Gary Conway. Or Jerry Conway.
Jerry Conway, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't he do that run?
101, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
him and Roy Thomas.
For
more,
heroes of the media.
Just for Morbius. Roy Thomas had something to do with the creation of Morbius. I don't remember how.
Well, of course, because to read his assertions, he played a role in every character created in the Marvel universe, even including those when he was but an infant,
right.
coming out from the good people at Atlas, and its antecessors. I think it's gonna be a garbage movie. Is the long and short of it. But
his friend didn't turn into a villain, though, right?
Well, an opponent. He killed his friend accidentally.
Yeah, but he didn't become a supervillain. He just
well,
killed
during the 90s, he might have. All kinds of people came back as vampires in the 90s. And Marlene, the woman who was part of that trilogy, she's in it, and she's a recent return as well. And actually, I think the friend is dead. I think there might have been a retcon in the mini about the friend. But I was more overwhelmed by the Melter.
Apparently, the detective is
the fourth Melter for the curious.
The detective in the trailer is from the MCU.
Oh, was it? Did they name check him?
I don't know. I don't remember the actor's name. The Black Detective.
Yes.
He is a black detective character in the 90s series, and he has like a cyborg arm.
Oh, okay.
So when you see him in the park, there's something weird going on with his arm. It's got like wires and stuff.
Well, that's neat.
So they're saying that he is somebody.
Good. See, that makes me happy.
We'll find out in 3 days.
So it is what it is. But okay, or obviously not Black Cat. But I had Two Gun Kid. I stand on Two Gun Kid. Two Gun Kid was the next franchise to put asses in the seats. I'm just saying it right here.
I find it fascinating that the only two characters left from Marvel 60s is Hercules and Kazar. Namor supposedly is cast and is going to be in Black Panther.
The Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
I will point out that the minute Chadwick Boseman, that is the fellow's name. Right?
Yes.
I had some problems committing that name to memory for some reason around the time of his death. It led to some very awkward moments. In his passing, he was venerated like unto a god.
Right.
And it was seen as a great show of disrespect. So there you go, mankind. Proof of evolution. When he passed, my immediate response is, how many weeks, months, years is it appropriate to announce Wakanda Forever, which will continue the adventures of his family? And that won't happen. Well, look to Facebook, my friends, and you can see my evidence of same. I immediately was sure we were going to get the return of Killraven as the new Black Panther, swapping his duds, which he has done in the books more than once. So my feeling was there was precedent for it. We could have a redemption arc, and he could be the new Black Panther.
We don't know what's going on.
That's what I'm saying. I'm fascinated to find out what happens.
I don't think Shuri is... I think she might be Black Panther in this movie.
Right.
But I know the real-world actress stuff is getting weird, so I can't see Disney putting all their eggs in that basket.
They've also confirmed that the Wakanda Forever movie will be the debut of the Riri Williams Ironheart character.
Right. There's also Killmonger is coming back.
Right.
Apparently
but the
lived.
question is in what capacity?
Yeah.
Because is he going to renounce his quote unquote evil ways and be the new Black Panther?
And Namor is
or something else.
Namor is debuting.
I hope they make Namor a totally unapologetic, death-calling supervillain. Undo all of the precedents of heroism, people.
I think that it's a mistake to put Namor. I don't know. I would have done Namor in a FF movie.
Well,
We'll wait. I'll wait to see how this guy is, but he's not the best cast character they've done.
I've made some admissions during this ongoing conversation, Paul, and I'm going to make one now. You will be hard-pressed to find a bigger fan of the Fantastic Four than myself.
Oh, I know that. Yeah.
But there are certain... Yes, thank you, Paul. I'm glad you knew that much. But there are certain elements of the franchise that I do not particularly champion or care for. I, myself, never a fan of the Inhumans, Paul. They never floated my boat. But Crystal is sort of the exception that proves the rule / good thing we get from them. So I accept them. I always roll my eyes when any effort has been made to make them more high profile. So obviously a few years ago when that was the corporate diktat, it was very painful for me.
The X-Men Inhumans wars in the real world and in the comic book world.
Madre Dios. It's a longer topic, but but they never really turned me on, but I appreciated them as, hey, you had to give Crystal a retroactive family and history. So in that capacity, it's a triumph, because look at the in-depth history they gave her. I would have been just assumed to leave it there. I think the only issue I ever enjoyed was the FF annual in which the Psycho Man was introduced. That's my thing. I was like, that's a cool last time to see them. I hope they never come back.
And I'm assuming your next thing is you hate Namor.
I really hate Namor. The only Namor I like is when he is used as a villain in those first dozen issues of FF. Once we have the annual that establishes he's still a nice man and someone loves him in Atlantis, I no longer care about Namor. And from that point on, Namor is the most worthless psychotic in the Marvel Universe. You talk about shooting the Hulk into space. Should have shot damn Namor into the sun decades ago.
I kind of agree with you. This weird double standard on the Hulk is just poor Bruce Banner.
The Hulk doesn't raise effing armies.
Right, yeah. It's kind of weird that Namor gets a pass. Did you enjoy when he was a member of the Cabal?
This is what I'm talking about.
You did not like that.
When it's convenient, we're going to segue him back to villain and then have none of it stick. I was happy to see him at that table. The table that was originally referred to as the Masters of Evil, by the way. That was Bendis' Masters of Evil, lest we forget.
Yeah, I guess I should.
And then eventually that was festooned upon his army of villains that could never be in a same room together, nor would they ever be in a same room together. Dr. Demonicus, Centurius, the Brothers Grimm. It's starting to sound like I might not care for many of this man's works. So let me interject. I think Bendis' Daredevil run is one of the finest runs on a book ever. Thank you and good night.
Listen, the Cabal was also a weird lineup, too. It was like Emma Frost, Namor.
And that's why I couldn't get too excited about Namor, because this isn't going to be a full heel turn. He's on the same board as Emma. And Girl Loki. And that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
And it was.
Who else was that? Doom? Who else was in that?
Doom, the Hood.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. It's like you could make a case for these all being complicated gray moral characters, and then you got Mary Sue Villain Hood on the team. And then Namor. Eventually Taskmaster, because why not?
That's legitimately bad, in my opinion.
Well, just because an announcement is made that he's going to be in a movie. And then he wasn't.
It wasn't.
Instead, some Russian ghoul. But what brought us down this road of discussing things like the Cabal?
Because Namor is showing up in Black Panther.
So Namor is going to show up in Black Panther. I'm sure it's going to be the anti-hero turn. I want to see him tearing people's heads off. Now, another thing I heard is a lot of people apparently think that the Man-Ape character, M'Baku, could be the next Black Panther. And while it's fascinating, no. They turned a tertiary C-grade character that a lot of people found triggering into something magnificent and empowering. Don't take that away.
Talking about the Man-Ape?
Yes, the Man-Ape.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I just assumed America, like myself, knew M'Baku was the Man-Ape.
They probably don't.
Ladies and gentlemen, the big ape totem warrior that you've come to love as a nation in the Black Panther movie and in the Avengers movie is a character in the Marvel Universe, a Silver Age villain named Man-Ape. who I always loved. He was part of a rival cult of animal worshippers, in this case, the White Ape of Wakanda. He was first introduced as a member of the Lethal Legion in the pages of the Avengers, and which was interesting because the leader of the Lethal Legion was the Grim Reaper, who was a noted racist, even from the beginnings of the character. And, of course, Man-Ape was a black man. Over the course of time, as the narratives and kind of perceptions of society change and become more sensitive, many people found it very offensive that an African-American character is named the Man-Ape. I'm not going to defend it either way. It's enough to know I always thought he was a cool, serviceable, workman-like supervillain, so he got a lot less use.
I think that only came up really during the movie.
Oh, it was before the movie. It was back during Reggie Hudlin's run and in Christopher before that, Chris Priest's
they
run.
were both black men, and they were like, this is like...
Well, that's the thing. I feel their opinion would carry...
Yeah.
Oh, no, Paul. No.
Christopher Priest used him.
He did use him begrudgingly. There was lots of stuff said in interviews that they had real problems with.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, so I could understand whereas you thought they were cool because they showed up in their runs, but no. Hudlin in the hardcover of his book talks about how, no, I'm certainly not going to use that character, and that Christopher Priest tried to redeem the character.
That's where the hero turn came from.
And he actually wound up dying in the course of one of the appearances.
He's back now, though.
Oh, he's back.
He is
certainly
in
back.
comics.
So
that's unfortunate.
So there was actual like crap that went on there, and then for him to show up in the movie in such a wonderful fashion.
Yeah, yeah.
Ask Little Maori, who I saw the movie with. I cheered when I realized it was Man-Ape. Mabaku!
Yeah,
I knew the character enough.
Well, do you think that?
So no, I don't. There's a lot of talk he'd become the new Black Panther. I say no. You let him be his own character.
But Disney, I don't think Disney is going to let this franchise die.
No, there has to be a new Black Panther.
It's very unfortunate.
There was a day when if someone said to me, well, they got a multiverse now, so it could be another T'Challa from another world. I would have said, you've totally missed the point on what movies are.
But that's probably going to happen.
Now, that's not so far. I won't say probably, but it certainly could happen, right? And that's sick. That's like Lost is all about dead people. It's that level of sick. You know, that it's the dumbest possible way to fix a problem.
Yeah, it could be because this sequel... they haven't come out and said what happened, right?
No.
In character?
No.
So
no decision has been made as far as I know.
So we'll probably get Shuri in a Black Panther costume.
Well, and there's a precedent for it in the books.
Right. And I'm not, and this is only because
I just don't like that because it makes less toys in the box, right? If again, it's the same thing with Man-Ape. Don't take that away. You make that the Black Panther character. Now, again, you're combining two characters into one. Let that be separate. Bring in some other presence.
But I don't think they're going to, again, because of real world stuff, I don't think Disney wants to put that on this actress just because she's been so difficult to work with.
I think the smarter thing to do is establish a cult
that this was
of
the
Panther
kind of
world.
swan, like, you know.
The Wakanda Forever thing would be the final.
Was the final.
And then you could stop using it afterwards.
Right, like maybe they do a Killmonger movie or a...
Just knowing the cultural significance that Black Panther had, though, I don't necessarily know that that's the move to make.
Well, that's why Riri Williams is being introduced.
Okay,
you know, and that's why.
So that'll
Sam,
be the gear that you shift into things that you can actively,
like
less awkwardly present. Okay, that's fair enough.
Sam's now Captain America, so he's going to be Captain America for years.
I don't know. You know, say what you will about the irony, the humor, or even the kind of sour takeaway. The fact that you immediately had Wakanda as a travel destination spike after those movies. I don't mock that. It breaks my heart because it shows that every element of that movie, somebody needed it, you know?
Yeah.
And I would continue to suggest that someone obviously still needs whatever that movie sold, and that idea sold beyond even the character.
That doesn't mean you can't go back, though, especially with...
No, I think you can go back. That's my point.
That's what I'm saying,
just suggesting that there's some other level of sensitivity and recommitment that needs to happen with that thing so that it can continue to inspire people in such a fashion. And you have to think outside the box, and it's not necessarily, as much as I hate saying that, it's not as simple as recasting the character. I feel you keep it the dead man. I feel he doesn't speak. I feel you have him appear as much as he had, and up to and including have him in movies, but... I think that given the events, it can happen in such a way that you're not just, digging up Orson Welles' likeness for a modern Peas commercial.
Right.
I think something along the lines of acknowledging that he has died and this is his ghost might be the first step toward building something that can serve as a bridge and a tribute.
Well, like I said, as far as we know, we don't know in universe what's happened to him.
Sure enough.
So,
and he doesn't have to die. That's
Yeah.
another possibility as well.
I mean, his Chadwick Boseman's brother came out and said just recast him because it's such a big character for the black community.
There you go.
And all that stuff. And I don't mind the recast either because we've already done this.
Yeah.
We've recast,
And that's fine.
We recast War Machine.
It all,
And
my thing is
I'm
just
sure
like,
there's
it's an
someone else.
opinion other than mine to make. And I'm not the person to put that out there. But, it's just one of those things that it's,
Yeah.
I'd like to know what the decision is, though, for my own peace of mind and just kind of, not
that's
so
a-
much critically as spiritually. I'd like to know where their head's at.
That's how Disney gets you to buy tickets.
I suppose you're right. But even that is kind of intrinsically inappropriate in a way. But other than that, I have to say the mark of quality continues to improve. I was definitely left a little flat by the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think it went from being an interesting well of reinvented characters and ideas to a speech on a street corner, and that was a terrible loss of momentum.
We could go over every show, and we're gonna, it's a lot to unpack.
But my point being that since then,
Yeah.
I definitely have enjoyed all of the Disney Plus Marvel stuff on an increasing level. I feel that they're hitting a better mark with every success.
Yeah, me personally, I did not like What If.
No.
What If-
That is a sidebar.
Yeah, that's
That's its own thing. That was a waste of my time.
I'm curious to see if you're going to be right in Doctor Strange 2, where we're supposed to believe this is the What If Doctor Strange.
We're supposed to
but they
fill in that
never-
blank while they never really commit
that'll
to
be
it.
that'll be a really
Dance around it.
dance around that I hate.
We talked about it, I think, from our friend listeners' perspective 2 episodes ago. But
Right.
yeah, it's worth mentioning again. They distance the content just enough that it never has to truly sink. And I think we're going to get multiple cases of that with this Multiverse of Madness.
It's
movie.
because if James Gunn or Taika Waititi introduced the Living Tribunal, whoops, all of What If doesn't make sense anymore, and
Yeah.
or any number of cosmic entities.
Right.
The entirety of What If makes no sense.
Correct.
So
and it's pivotal moment that supposedly makes
I
it
hate
the
that whole
evolution of
show.
the Ultron character. No, that whole laser Thanos thing made us both. I when
laughed.
Paul said, "Hey, what did you think of the last episode?" I said, "Well, I'll ask you this, Paul. What scene made me laugh out loud? The Thanos laser. Correct.
yeah, that was
Half baked, people.
not to mention the series before this. You see the Infinity Stones at the time agency.
Correct.
And they're like, oh, they don't work outside of universes. And here's Ultron going through every multiverse
Make no
with the
mistake.
Infinity
I
Stones.
feel trite too talking about it, but it has to be discussed. It flies directly in the face.
Like
And so concludes another segment of the Infinite Conversation. Talk of secret menus leads to the invention of a new superfood. Is there a hero among you who will be the first to have your Sonic order balled at McDonald's? For those of you who dare, post your proof on the Rat's Nest Studio Facebook page. What did we learn this week? Well, Paul and Keith sure do know a lot about solicitation. Paul's big reveal, the best part of Coulson's story arc. And due to the linear nature of time, you are hearing this after it was recorded. How do you think the boys dug Moon Knight and Morbius? Spoiler! The words sin and crime against humanity will be heard. Listen in next week for the tears and blood. Infinite Geek Talk is brought to you by Infinite Heroes Comics, Cards, and Collectibles in Watertown, Connecticut, and Gorilla Valley Games. Infinite Geek Talk is a Rat's Nest production, recorded and engineered by Rich Johnson in the Rat's Nest Studio.